Hey guys, I'm Adam Wheeler, Olympic bronze medalist in wrestling, BJJ black belt. In 2014 I won the No-Gi Master Worlds. Today we're going to show you guys some techniques, a lot of upper body techniques, which I like because I feel like it keeps you out of danger in jiu-jitsu and allows you to score a lot of takedowns without putting yourself in dangerous positions. This is Daniel Calvert. He's going to help me today, and we hope you guys enjoy. Alright guys, to start out, any time that I like to roll, train, have a competition, something like that, there's a couple specific warm-ups that I do. And really what I do these for is not necessarily because I'm going to go out and throw everybody, but I want my hips to be warm. I want to be able to have that reaction. And I think a lot of times when you're warmed up and you do a few of these throws in your warm-up, then you really can react better to someone's reactions when you're actually in a competition or in training, wherever it may be. So the first thing that I like to do is, even in jiu-jitsu, is I kind of always start out in what we call in Greco pummeling, or when you're pummeling, a lot of people refer to it as this is where you're finding your dance, because in wrestling, especially Greco, you're a lot of chest-to-chest stuff, right? And you're always trying to find dominant positions. So pummeling is basically, I'm going to change from an over and under on this side to trying to get double unders, but my opponent or my partner here is doing the same exact thing. So we end up now over under here. Okay? So this is kind of like a basic pummeling drill. This isn't, I've heard people say this is pummeling. This is not pummeling, this is just a pummeling drill. Pummeling is basically trying to gain a better position on your opponent. And now this is just a drill that I like to do to warm up. Notice that once we start, it's kind of like you can start almost like a square stance and just warm it up here. But then once I start finding my dance, what I'm going to move into is, now I want my underhook side forward. And as we move through these DVDs today, you'll see that I talk about I like my underhook leg forward a lot for a lot of my positions, for a lot of how I'm going to throw and things like that. So as awkward as it feels, as you warm up in your next time and you're going to try some of this stuff on the DVD, why don't you guys follow this warm up and just try to become comfortable with being locked in with a partner. Okay? Try to be comfortable in this position here. When we start pummeling, moving my feet so my underarm or my underhook leg is forward. Underhook leg is forward. Boom, and we're pummeling. Okay? And then a lot of these throws that I'm going to show are going to come off of this. Okay, next, what I want to point out is a back step. Now, a lot of different people have different ideas of a back step. And so what I mean by back step is, if I'm in this pummeling position, my underhook leg is forward, and I'm going to take my other leg, and I'm going to do a back step for my throw. Okay? Now just pay attention closely to my feet for a second. Go ahead and step just back. I'm just going to do this one. It is basically, I'm going to find a line, okay? And I'm just imagining this, because this is part of my mental visualization. Very important for your warm up, not just your body, but your mind has to be ready for a match too. Okay, so a lot of times I'll do this just as my warm up, and I'll do it fast, and you know, people are like, "What is he doing?" But I'm finding my dance, I'm finding my rhythm, I'm getting my body warmed up, I'm getting ready to react to however my opponent's going to attack me. So imagine he's here, right? So underhook side is forward. Now in wrestling, they say never cross your feet, right? This is kind of an exception, but I'm not really crossing my feet. Okay, what I'm going to do is, if you look at my legs, my back foot's going to come and basically kick the heel of my right foot, right? And I'm basically putting my toe to the mat. So yeah, if you want to say I'm crossing my feet, that's fine. But I'm really crossing my feet as I'm turning my body and getting my hips through. Then I'm just going to do it the opposite side. Here. Boom. 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 Just getting nice and loose, okay? And then what I'll do is I'll start out with my partner, and we'll start out static. And so I'm just going to do my back step here with the arm throw. Not really even worried about doing anything, maybe getting his feet slightly up the mat. I'm going to show you some details on these warm-up throws in a second too. And then do it nice and slow. Make sure you're doing both sides. Notice my hips come all the way through, so my butt's going to basically be on the opposite side of him for my throws. Okay? And then I build from there. And it's going to be 1, 2, 3. And we're going to switch sides back and forth. That's part of my warm-up every day. Every time I train, I like to do this in my warm-up. Now, we're going to go into a couple different variations. So, the first variation we'll do is we will do the arm throw back step. Okay? Without even throwing him, we're going to do it from static first. Just going to pop his hips up. Okay? That's just popping his hips up. Boom. Each side. Right? Popping his hips up. Next, I'm going to do a static arm throw. So now I'm here, under that side hook is, under hook leg is forward, he pummels in. Watch my feet, they stay the exact same, he pummels in, coming to the head, back step. Now I'm doing a headlock, or commonly known as a head and arm throw. Pummels in, and this is all from the static position. Last one I like to do in my warm-up is, now I'm going to come up with my underhook, I'm going to elevate, reach across to the other side of his neck. So underhook, come across here, the next step, right hip throw, right hip toss. Elevate, grab here. Some people like to grab here. If there's a belt, you can grab there. I like here, I just feel like I have more control. Hips through, and we're just elevating to start. All right, guys, give those warm-up drills a try. All right, guys, now continuing on, still part of the warm-up. So we did it static. We got our back step, drilling the back step, perfect warm-up. To add something, it'll take you a couple minutes to just do a few back steps in your warm-up every day. Again, I like it because then when I'm rolling, when I'm training, my reactions are a lot quicker. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and develop this over time. And it does take a little bit of time to get this smooth, right? But now we're doing pummeling. And this is still part of the warm-up. I'm not actually throwing yet, okay? Eventually, we're going to do it static throwing and then pummeling throwing on the crash pad. But for now, what now I'm doing is I'm finding my warm-up, or like my pummeling speed. And as I'm pummeling, you know, like now I'm going to pummel back in, and I'm going to go to one of my throws from the pummel. Okay, and that's when you get fast at learning how to hit it from positions. He's digging, he's fighting you back, and you're pummeling in a match, because you know everybody wants that dominant position. That's where you hit the throws. You're not necessarily going to always hit the throw off of a static position, especially a good guy who knows positioning and he's keeping his weight back. So I want to be pushing on Daniel. And what I did just now, as soon as I pummel in here, I'm catching his arm as I pummel, and I'm hitting my back step for my arm throw. For me, personally, in jiu-jitsu, I like to hit my arm throw with his arm here. Okay, and I'll explain that to you guys in the next clip. I don't want to hit my arm throw here in jiu-jitsu. I just feel like it's a little bit too close to there. So, next pummeling drill. Boom, he's pummeling in. Now I don't want to let him pummel this time. I'm going to just come over the top for my headlock. Okay? Boom. Coming over the top as he pummels in, basically feeds me that elbow in that throw. And then the last one is pummeling. I'm going to adjust quick, hit throw. Okay, and again, we're not actually doing the throws right now. I'm just going to say, okay, let's do 3 of each throw, part of the warm-up. All right, guys, give those a try. All right, so with wrestling, for me, I was always taught this, and I really believe it, that I want to make first contact. The thing about making first contact is it makes him react to me. And so he's reacting to what I'm doing, then he's not thinking offensively, he's more thinking defensively, so it goes in my favor. What I like to do first thing, and this is probably my favorite series that I do, is my first contact is I'm going to do a cross wrist grab. So opposite hand to the opposite wrist. Other hand right away is, now that I have this wrist, he doesn't want me to have it, so right when I grab this wrist, I have to close distance, and I'm going to come in, grab above the elbow, and I'm going to put my shoulder to his shoulder, or some may like it a little bit more chest to chest. Kind of just depends on your preference. Okay, now this is what I call the Wheeler Special 2-on-1, and what I like to do is control this arm here, control the elbow, I'm pulling it in, I'm creating a little bit of space just to open up, and I'm going to start from what I like to do with my arm drags is step in between his leg as I drag. Okay, so first step of the arm drag is I'm going to release the wrist to my right hand wrist to his armpit here, and now all I'm doing is really I'm keeping control of this, but it's only for a split second. Now a big mistake with arm drags is people think that they have to really drag this guy to where they want him, but that's not the case on the feet. When I do my arm drag, all I'm doing is I'm just dragging this arm far enough out of the way where I could close this space right here. Okay, so something like this. First contact, closing that distance to the armpit, dragging, and I'm stepping and closing this space. Okay, very important that you look where my foot is. My foot's through his legs because I want to be deep right here. I don't want to have my foot close to here because then I don't really close this space. So as I'm stepping, I'm closing all that space and I'm stepping deep through his legs, which also makes me change my levels, and I'm going to be underneath his hips when I turn that corner. Okay, so first contact, closing that distance, going for my arm drag, and I'm going to step deep. Now what I want to do, I don't want to pause here in real time. I want to turn my hips so we're facing the same direction. And notice, by me just turning my hips and stepping into him, I'm underneath him, that back leg is elevating. And now I'm just going to corkscrew him in. One more time. Do it from here. So we're in our stance. We start. First contact, opposite wrist. I'm going to close that distance, grab this elbow. Now, notice there's space here. That's fine, but what I want to do is I want to eliminate that space. So when I go for my arm drag, up to the armpit, I'm keeping everything close, stepping my leg deep, hips up, just finishing the takedown. Okay. Okay, one thing that I want to point out with this technique is that it's very important for me to not only close that distance, but I'm also changing my level. If I stay at the same level with Daniel and I do that arm drag, I'm not going to have that same control. The space is going to be different. I'm not going to be able to get under his hips and finish the move. Ideally, what I want to do when I finish the move is I'm going to step through, but watch my level. Like as I do my arm drag, look how low I am initially. That allows me to get my hips underneath his hips, and then I'm able to take him all the way down to the mat. So, different angle here, first contact. As I change my levels, allows me to take him down to the mat faster. Now, ideally, I would like to get that to be that smooth. One thing I like about this technique is, even if I can't initially get that pop to where it's like an explosive takedown, I'm in control of his body, and I'm basically going to corkscrew him down. So what I mean by that is here, stepping deep, changing my levels. I can't pull him initially, but now all I have to do is kind of corkscrew him around, and he has nowhere to go because I'm controlling that whole side of his body. Okay. Okay, continuing on from that last technique. In wrestling, we talk about chain wrestling. So everything that you do in wrestling, you have to have a plan B, plan C, plan D, and you have to be a step ahead of your opponent. So if you guys pay attention to where my hips were, how I changed my levels, the next few techniques, everything's going to be very, very similar. I'm just going to show you guys how to do it in scenarios where he reacts different ways, and then also different finishes. But follow the same fundamental techniques, and you should have a great time with this move. So the next thing I want to do is everything stays the same. First contact, I'm coming in, and I'm going to hit my drag. Now, Daniel, this time, as I drag, he's going to he's going to get his arm out. Ideally, I want to control this arm, but this time I drag, and he gets his arm out. Okay? Notice where my hand is. My hand is not in the center of his back. It's cinched over here, and I'm going to use the same techniques. All I'm going to do is I'm going to connect my hands here, use the same techniques, hip low, and I'm finishing with that same movement that I used for the arm drag. It's just I'm cinching my arms and finishing the takedown that way. So from a different angle, I'll have Daniel, or I'll face you just so you can kind of see my lock. So I make the first contact. Everything stays the same. I hit my drag, but Daniel somehow slips away. Notice my hand. This is important. My foot is through. My hand is not here. I'm not trying to bear hug him. It's here already. If I end up here for some reason, I have to make sure as I connect my hands. I like this grip, the finger to finger, instead of a traditional gable grip, except like I have more control. But notice if my hands are here, I want to cinch to the side as I get my hips in. So I'm here, or I'm here where I want to be. I'm going to connect my hands, stepping deep, cinching my hands as I throw my hips through. Look at his legs elevated already. And I'm keeping everything tight to me as I corkscrew him down. Do the same. So same thing, wrist, elbow, shoulder to shoulder, chest to chest. I hit my drag, my feet is wide, my hand is already cinched. I'm just going to connect my hands here, hips, popping up and into him. Very important that you still change your levels, because if I don't change my level, it's going to be very hard to throw him. What I mean by that is, let's do this angle again. If I get in here and everything's the same, he gets his arm out, but I can't change my levels, it's going to be hard for me to cinch because there's going to be space here, and I'm going to just have to muscle him over. If I change my levels and I cinch my arms, like he has nowhere to go. All of his weight's on this foot, and I'm just corkscrewing him down to finish my takedown. All right, guys, let's give that a try. All right, guys, so now we've established what to do if we actually get our arm drag, if he pulls his arm out. Now he's going to give me a little bit different reaction. And again, we have to have our chain together, so however he reacts, I'm going to know which way I want to go with my takedown. Okay, so this next one, everything's the same, guys. Remember the fundamentals for this first whole series with my 2-on-1 are going to be the same. So first contact, I'm coming in, reaching up, and now as I drag, I go to turn the corner, but he's really strong, and I can't get him because he kind of backs out that way. No problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step my leg out, and I'm going to stuff his head. So I'm coming to his head, and I'm stepping my leg out. Okay? Here's something that I like to do that's a little bit different than some people, is I keep this grip under his armpit, and I push his head down here, and I like to kind of use this as a grip. Okay, so a lot of people feel more comfortable coming here, which is fine, but I'm going to keep his head down. One thing very important if you stuff somebody's head is I don't ever want to let his head's in the center right now, I don't ever want to let his head get out to the side, because now he's tough, a good wrestler, he's going to change level, get underneath, and be able to get to my body. Okay, so from a different angle, coming in, dragging, I go for step one. You always go for your moves 100%. It's just now he's reacting by pulling this way, his head. I'm gonna come on top of his head, okay? By top, I mean the top, not the back. It's gonna be harder to push him down here, but if I come, basically cup it like a football, and I'm gonna stuff it, my one hand into my armpit as I step back. So there's little techniques. So you can see my hand here, my other hand here. Then what I wanna do is close that distance, and I'm gonna kind of put my hips into his head, okay? Once you're kind of here and you have him controlled, then I'll switch my grip to a wristwatch grip on this side. And I'll change the angles here in a second. I'm not gonna just try to muscle him and snap him down now. What I wanna do is I wanna put my hips in, walk into him. He's not comfortable now. He's kind of backing up, and then I'm gonna change my direction. What I don't wanna do once I get here is let go. I wanna keep this grip here, spin around to the back, or if you're more comfortable, into the Arming guillotine. One more time. Let's try to do it right here. Okay, so first contact, coming in. I go for it. Notice his weight pulls back, coming to the top of his head. This is what I mean. I'm gonna give him a little pressure, then switch to the wrist watch grip, but I keep my grip under his armpit, hips in, walking him. Sometimes you may be able to just have guys, they're gonna hate it so bad that they're gonna go down. But here, snapping down, I keep this grip. As I keep this grip, that's how I'm gonna use my opposite knee to slide in and come behind. Or my favorite move, my favorite submission, actually comes from right here, where I'm gonna slide my knee to his elbow, sit, Arming guillotine. All right, guys, give that a shot. Okay, guys, continuing on from that snap down, what I want to do is I'm just going to point out kind of a move that I used from this position in jiu-jitsu, and it's the #1 submission that I get on people, and it's basically from a wrestling position, a wrestling front headlock, Arming guillotine. I just set it up just a little bit differently than a lot of people do, so I'm just going to show that to you guys real fast. So going back to where we were, I am controlling the position, going through all these steps again. He backs out, snapping him down. It's really important, again, that I keep a hold of this armpit. This is kind of why this move is effective in my opinion. So putting that pressure, wristwatch grip, and then I'm going to walk him forward a little bit, hips in, snap him down. Okay? What I like to do now to get this finish is I'm keeping control of this. Like I can almost do this with one hand, and I almost do for part of it just to give me a little bit of ability to use my hand to move around. Next step is I'm going to post my knee on this side of his elbow, and I'm going to pull him onto me. So notice now my knee's on this side of his elbow, but I still, you can see my hand down here, I still have that hand. Now I'm going to suck him up and I'm going to re-grip my wrist. Now all I do is I pull him into my body, left leg over, right knee underneath, and I'm squeezing my knees together and I'm arching up for my submission. Okay? What I like about this position before we move to a different angle is I have his armpit. I don't throw this leg all the way through because I don't want to give up position if he pops his head out, you know? So I keep this here. He pops his head out. Now all I have to do with, because my knee is in a good position, my bottom leg's in a good position, my top leg's in a good position, I still have my arm drag locked in. If he pops his head out, I'm gonna just swing up, keep that arm drag, come back up to his back. Okay? One more time, let's just start from the knees here, from a different angle. Really important that as I took him down, remember his head was in basically right on my belly button, not off to the side. So I don't want him to be able to get to my body. So I'm here. I'm keeping the grip on this opposite side. As I jump around, like I said, I like to use this hand. If you're more comfortable keeping that grip, that's fine. I like to use it because here, it's shoving this bottom knee through. If you could just turn up a little bit. Notice how my knee is blocking his elbow. Now he can't retract his elbow back to his body, so he's kind of trapped, okay? Now I'm gonna grab my wristwatch again. I'm gonna basically sit back at this angle, like over my right shoulder, as I suck him in. And I shoot this knee through, right here, hook in here. I'm squeezing my knees, and this grip is still here. It's already getting tight, I could tell. And I'm just gonna arch up for the finish. Again, from this angle, I can't finish. He's really strong, pops his head out. I already have my arm drag locked in. I'm just gonna release this leg, basically use it as a little lever, kick up, and now I'm coming back to the back, right here. All right, guys, that's my favorite jiu-jitsu submission and no-gi. Go ahead and give it a shot. All right, guys, this next link in our chain is actually, it doesn't look that complicated, but it's probably going to be one of the more technical takedowns that we're going to do today. And what this one takes is drilling a lot of repetitions, because it's got to be, as a takedown artist, I have to be able to feel kind of like where he's moving his body and how he's reacting to certain things. So this one actually is a lot about timing, so it may feel kind of awkward at first, and but once you drill it and you get, you know, good partners and stuff, this is a move that I've hit in several matches in my wrestling career, and it's very low risk of ending up in a dangerous position. And that's kind of what I like about all the upper body stuff, is that it's low risk. Like, I'm not putting myself in danger by shooting underneath somebody, you know, traditional single leg, double leg, something like that, where I'm shooting underneath somebody and potentially getting caught in guillotines or submissions or ending up on bottom. I like to play top game, so this kind of keeps me on top. So this is same setup, first contact. Daniel's going to react similar to the way he reacted with the snap down, but this time, instead of just kind of pulling back, he's going to put pressure backwards, and you'll see what I mean here. So I go for my drag. I go for the move number one. It doesn't work. Now notice where my hips are. We're facing the same way. Now when I feel him kind of squat backwards to stop me, my foot has to change directions back, and I'm going to shoot through, and I'm going to take him back that way. So go ahead and stand up. So we're going to try to do this a little slow. So as he's going backwards, I'm changing directions. I'm coming down hard, and I'm going into him. Okay, there's a lot of moving parts to this one that are hard to identify unless you actually feel it. So we'll hit that one from a couple different angles. Also notice that this one, what I did was I only shot one leg through, and I'm going to show you a little trick that I like to do with two legs through after this. Boom. Here, right? Now I go to turn, he squats down, I'm going to change my directions backwards, and all my weight is falling on his hips. I'm taking that direction the opposite way. I'll do it from this angle, point out a couple things that are really, really important to this, for this move to work. One is, as he changes his level, I have to see my foot. I have to change it back so I could drive this way. Basically like a penetration step. And number two is, as I come down, this hand is really coming down hard on his hips, and I'm knocking his butt downward angle. And this arm is also, I'm really heavy on this arm. Okay, so when it's all together, stand up just a little bit. He's gonna change directions, I'm gonna go with him. Everything's heavy and on him. And I wanna exaggerate the coming down on his hips really, really hard, because this is a change of direction that is very high percentage, because I'm not putting myself in danger. If I do it and it doesn't work efficiently, so don't fall this time. So I come in, I change direction, doesn't work, I just stand back up. I'm not in dangerous position. I still have control of his arm. He's not going to do anything dangerous. One more time. Coming in here. Boom. He changes direction. Change right away. Now I can start working for my pass. All right, guys, give that one a try. Okay, guys, I hope you like that one. Now, a common question with the change of direction is, it's hard unless you really, really have great timing to get that. So here's a couple other little tricks that you can do to maximize this takedown. So that first one, we only used one leg, right? So there's a couple different options here. As I come in for my next one, I'm a Greco guy. So if you're more comfortable, as you shoot down, you can almost inside trip this leg, okay? I'm not gonna really put too much detail into that one because that is not something that I'm great at, okay? But it is an option, and it's a good option if you're comfortable with inside trips. My way of finishing this one that I like a little bit more is I'm gonna bring both knees in and I'm gonna spread his legs. Okay, so actually let's do this angle. So pay attention to where my knees go. This one's hard to do in slow motion, but I'll give it my best. So controlling this, he changes directions. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do everything the same way that I did that last time. But my second knee is gonna shoot in and I'm gonna spread his legs. So I'm shooting this leg in and I'm spreading his legs as I bring him down. That gives me a lot more control taking him down. The difference in jiu-jitsu is now I'm in closed guard, which I'm fine with. And it's still gonna be a takedown if you're doing IBJJF and trying to get points or something like that. Another angle, and then watch, everything's gonna be the same with my left leg. This time I just shoot my right leg in and I spread my knees to finish the takedown. Changes, now I'm gonna shoot this leg in. As I do that, everything's the same. One more time. Different angle. He changes direction. Boom. Very, very effective takedown, but you gotta drill this. Like I would drill this every day if it's something that you think you're gonna utilize, just because you really have to be able to feel your partner or your opponent pulling from you versus pushing into you. All right, guys, give this one a try. All right, guys, I'm gonna show the change of direction one more time. This time, Daniel's gonna pull his arm out, kind of like how we did the first finish. Remember, a lot of the fundamentals, no matter what my position is, whether I have over-under grips, double under hooks, arm drag, I'm in deep. A lot of the fundamentals with where my hips are, my positioning is the same. It's just how you're controlling the body. So this time, we're gonna do the same takedown that we just did, except as I arm drag, Daniel gets his arm out, and I go to do my first finish, and you see how he's already squatting. Now what I want to do is I want to change my hand that's cinched. I want to change it back to his back as I finish the takedown. So we're in here. As I finish the takedown, I'm changing my block back, and I'm really coming down on his back. That was a single leg variation. Let's do it with two legs. This time I want you guys to really pay attention to my hands. Okay? So he gets his arm out. Notice my hand is in this cinch position. That's where I really normally want it. But if he's pulling back and squatting, I'm not going to be able to always do this. Now he's beat my level changes up, so I'm not underneath him anymore. So as I finish this one, now my hands are going to come really hard down on his hips, right? So as I come down on his hips, cover him up. Let's try to do one more from a different angle, but a little bit faster. Boom. He pulls this out, I go this way. Changing my grip. You could do table grip, wristwatch grip, finger grip, however you want to. It's just I'm coming down, pulling hard, elbows in, and I'm really controlling his body. All right, guys, give that a try. All right, guys, this is a technique that I love. It's actually my favorite throw from the feet. And what I like about it is that you can hit it very fast before the guy that you're wrestling knows what's happening, because it's not from a traditional body lock position or something like that. It's more of like you catch them on their reaction very fast. In wrestling, you could let go on this throw and get your points, but in jiu-jitsu you got to maintain control, and so something just to be cautious of the differences. Okay, so this is a quick throw, and what you got to watch out for is somebody reacting and hooking your legs before you could actually get the throw. So that's why it's got to be kind of an instant reaction. Ready? So coming in, everything's the same. I'm doing my arm drag. Okay, this is very important on this time. So when I do my drag, I want to really maintain control of this arm, tight to my body. Okay, notice my foot is between Daniel's legs, and where this throw comes off of is as soon as he steps out, I'm coming up to basically his lat or right underneath his opposite armpit, and I'm letting my body kind of slide so we're almost chest to chest. Okay, and the reality is, so go back real quick. The reality is, as soon as he steps out, it's gotta be, that's when I'm doing my throw. I'm not gonna be able to pause on this one. Okay, if for some reason I pause, this is when I'm gonna have to go back to my front headlock or snap down. Okay, so this is a quick little whip throw basically. So right as he steps out, here, whipping him, and I'm gonna keep this arm and come up into side control. Okay, you can't let him go. Obviously in jiu-jitsu, you wanna control the position. Now I'm in side control, and I'm here. A little different angle. Everything's the same. Arm dragging here. As soon as he turns, notice my arm. It came up, and I let this get through. And I'm basically pulling this arm, so like I'm pulling opposites. You know, you could almost, if you catch them right, you could almost not even do the throw and take them down sometimes just with their balance. I love this one because it's so fast, and like a lot of times they just really don't know what's going on. Maintaining side control. I like to keep this arm. You know, you can start messing with this arm or do whatever you want to do for that position. Okay, just a different angle here. Very important. One more time, I'll point out that I'm maintaining control of this and this back. Like I'm squeezing, twisting. Now, my throw is not just falling and turning. I'm actually going backwards and then turning. So I'll try to hit that angle a little bit better from this side so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm dragging as soon as he steps out here. Trying to maintain control this whole time, coming up into a good side control position. And sometimes it looks pretty cool too. So give it a try, guys. Alright guys, now that we've done the static warm-up throws and the throws from pummeling, finding your dance, I'm just going to hit a couple throws. The way that I kind of learned over time is I came from a wrestling background to doing these throws on jiu-jitsu, guys, and there's a couple of things that I learned not to do, and I just want to point those out to you guys when we're doing the throws, just so you guys don't make the same mistakes in your competition that I make. So my first throw is an arm throw. Okay, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna do it from static for now, and then just as you guys get better and as you progress, you can also finish the throws from the pummeling position. But I want to do it from static just so I can point out a few details to you guys. So we're in our pummeling position here, right? And I'll do this from a couple different angles so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But as I come in, I'm hooking Daniel's armpit with my elbow. And I'm really locking his body, his arm, into my body as I do my back step. I'm getting my hips all the way through. And then I'm going to throw, basically looking back this way. Okay? And when I throw, what I like to do is I actually, in wrestling, this is something I adapted. In wrestling, you throw from your feet, you throw them high, you get huge points. In jiu-jitsu, you throw from your feet, you throw them high, then you don't have control of them on the ground, you get pretty much nothing. And now they can come back and still fight with you. So I want to control them. So what I've kind of adapted to jiu-jitsu from wrestling is I'll go down with him, I'll go down to a knee, and then I'm gonna cover my position. Okay? So static position throw, back step all the way through. I hit my knee to the mat, and then right away I'm covering over his chest. Okay? And again, this is something that, you know, I'm a wrestler. Judo, they have different names for the throws. In wrestling, we call this an arm throw. So let's try it just from this angle here. Static position. Back step's important. I'm catching his arm in the crease of my elbow, and I'm pulling this to me, right? As I got to get my hips all the way through, and then I'm going to throw, taking my eyes back to this wall. Okay? Boom, back to the wall. I'm hitting my knee forward, and now I'm going to either cover to side control. You could come up to north-south position, however you're comfortable. But I definitely recommend throwing all the way, following them all the way down to the mat, instead of just throwing from your feet, because then you're going to have less ground to cover to recover. So next one is the same static throw, headlock, okay? So now he goes to pummel in that arm. Instead of re-pummeling, I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to cover his head here, elbow grab here. Some people like to, let's just turn for a second. Some people like to lock their hands, kind of come under here. I like to control this elbow tight, and same thing now with his head. I'm basically getting as far wrapped around his head as I can, and I'm getting my hips through, and you'll see what I mean when I throw. So he pummels in. Notice I take my step, back step. Look at where my hips are. They're all the way through him. My vision's going to go that way. See how I hit my knee? That's because when you're doing this, the motion, I hit my knee. I usually stabilize my position just for a split second, but I know it's worked, and I've seen it work before where guys will get submissions cranking here or cranking here. I found it pretty low percentage of finishing from here, and what I don't want to do is stay here and then let this guy start working around and get a hook on my leg. So as soon as I land, I'm going to land, stabilize, and then I'm going to come up to my position here, side control, or start working north-south, wherever you're comfortable. But land, stabilize, get out of there. You don't want to hang out there, especially with a guy like Daniel. For me, long, flexible legs, he's going to get that hook in, and then you're going to be battling from there. So one more time, this from over here. Controlling this elbow. He pummels in. Back step, hips through, and now I'm looking this way, and I'm going to hit my knee to the mat. Ready? So looking this way, hitting my knee to the mat, stabilize my position if I need to, and then I'm switching my hips right away to cover. All right, and then the third throw that we did for our warm-up is the same position, same thing. Now, instead of letting him pummel in, I'm going to elevate my arm here, take my back step. Notice I hit my knee the exact same way. I stabilized, and then I covered however I want to finish. One more time, different angle. This is important part really is elevating here, boom. It's got to be kind of a fluid motion. Back stepping, getting my hips through. Hanging on my knee, stabilizing, and covering. All right, guys, those are my 3 favorite warm-up throws to really get loose and really get ready for those reactions. I hope you like them. All right, guys, so I just want to show one more setup for getting into that guillotine. Like I said, it's my favorite submission. It's the one that I use the most. And now we talked about kind of going around to the back. So you could do the guillotine from the front, where how we just talked about coming in here and spinning around and then kind of throwing this knee in, right? So now I want to talk about what if I get behind here, or I'm in a turtle position, or for some reason we're just in turtle position, okay? So what I like to do is I have to get my front knee behind his elbow. That's kind of the block. If he gets his elbow to here, it's going to be really tough to do that guillotine, that arm in guillotine, right? So if I could get that, if he's starting to block there, you know, a lot of times people don't know that this is coming. So I'm able to kind of be in this turtle position. I do a lot of my submissions and attacks are from a turtle position, from like a wrestler spiral ride is how I break people down, things like that. So if I'm in turtle position, what I like to do is I just kind of start out in a spiral ride, and I'll push him this way and start trying to pull him just enough to where he posted. So if this elbow's not here already, say he's protecting and it's back, once I start pulling him to the side, now you see how it opens up. His elbow's there. Immediately, I'm going to shoot this front knee in, and I'm going to reach over his head, and I'm connecting it onto my thigh. And I'll change the angle for you guys in a second so you can see what I'm talking about. But when we did it from the takedown, I didn't let go of the arm, like underneath the arm and behind the armpit, right? But it's a little hard to get that angle immediately. So I'll shoot to my thigh, and I'm grabbing the inside of my leg here, and I'll show you what I mean, or I'll show you that angle in a second. But now I'm going to keep this grip here. I have my own leg here. I'm getting my wristwatch grip, and now I'm going to sit into this choke, arm, and guillotine here, doing the same thing, coming over the top, pinching my legs together, and squeezing. And it gets really tight. Now, as I adjusted, what I did was I moved my hand to where it's on that same spot on his arm. So if he pops that head out, for some reason, I'm still in a position where I could reuse my drag and just come back up to the same exact position. Okay, so one more time, different angle. Turn this way. So what I did was, if he's blocking, right? We got here, we're in the turtle position. I have to open this up. Sometimes you could just honestly force your knee in there. But what I like to do is I use kind of like a spiral ride. So I'll come here. If it's gi, I'll grab the gi, however you want to do it. But I'll come here to basically get him to post, right? Because he doesn't want to just fall over. So he posts here. I throw my right knee in. If you look underneath here, my right knee is blocking his elbow. Okay? Go ahead, can you keep your arm right here for a second? Yeah. What I meant by throwing my hand around is I come in and I basically grab my own thigh right here. Wristwatch grip here, and then I'm going to sit to my angle. So go ahead and go down to normal. So now that I have my hands locked on my thigh, wristwatch grip, as I pull him to that angle, I'm going to switch my grip to underneath his armpit, and I'm finishing right here. Again, I love this position because most of the time I'll get somebody submitted with this. It's almost like a triangle choke, but you're using your arms. You know, it's that same kind of feeling. And now he pops his head out, same position. I'm not in a bad position. I can arm drag here and just come back up without being trapped. And that's the reason, again, why I don't throw my leg under and go into a closed guard and try to finish it. All right, guys. Again, that's my favorite submission. Go ahead and give it a try. All right, guys. Now that we've established what the pummeling drill is, finding our dance, I'm going to show a couple little variations that I like to use. Again, what I like about these and the way that I do these is that I don't put myself in danger. I'm not shooting underneath my opponent. I'm using upper body techniques to get my takedowns, get my position, and then ultimately just control what my opponent's doing. So we find our dance, and one other thing that I like to do in this warm-up series slash, I'll do this in actual matches now, is now my opponent's going to try to pummel in with this arm. Pummel in, we're pummeling. As he pummels in with this side, I'm going to block. See how I block this right here? So we're pummeling. Remember, same thing, left leg forward. Get into my dance, I'm finding my rhythm. Obviously, again, this is not how pummeling looks, but you're going to be able to realize that people want to get that underhook position. Okay, so this one, he pummels in, I'm going to block him. Basically, as he's pummeling in, I'm coming up and I'm stopping this elbow. Okay, now this is just a quick little duck variation that I like to use. So here, just popping this up, and now a duck under. People get confused, like they think they really have to go really low and create a lot of space. I'm basically going to lunge, and just enough space to where my hair, I got that nice little spike just for a good measuring tool. My hair is going to just rub his armpit. So I blocked, and I'm just lunging, ducking, and now very important in jiu-jitsu, I don't want to stop right here and get stuck. Okay, so when I'm here, I'm lunging, and I'm going to turn that corner right away and force my head into his back. I got to turn it right away. So from this angle here, we'll back you up to the camera. Boom. Pummeling, blocking, right? This is how I'm blocking. Elevating my elbow, and I'm going to lunge forward, just enough to duck, right away, head goes to his back, and I just come behind. Let's do one more angle here. So we're pummeling, we're finding our dance. As he pummels in on this side, I'm going to block, okay? If my leg's here, position isn't too important, wherever I end up. But I'm going to lunge that leg forward, duck right away, and my head is coming into his body, and I'm turning the corner, okay? From here, there's a lot of ways you could finish a takedown. What has happened to me in jiu-jitsu in the past is I'll get behind somebody, and they'll reach for my leg, and they'll roll for leg attacks. What I like to do to prevent that is, ideally, I have this arm, right? Chances are that's not going to happen very often where you can control that. So once I get to here, I got to hip in to the guy, and I'm going to cinch my hands, right? So my hands are here. I'm hipping in, and I'm cinching my hands to the side, and I'm walking. Now try to roll, foot roll. He can't because I have this seat roll, right? I cinch my hands and I lock. So I'm controlling his hips. Just makes it easier just for a quick little pop to the side. Pretty important detail is when you get behind somebody, right? Like I did my duck under. Boom. I'm behind him here. If I don't cinch my hands, and like he's loose up top, it's really hard for me to control him. Like it's really hard for me to lift. Even Daniel, being lighter than me, it's hard for me to lift. So I have to cinch that hand, keep everything tight. Keep everything tight, hips in, and now it's even Daniel weighing the 230 pounds I think he weighs. I could easily pop him up. Look like he's like really light for me because of my positioning, not because of strength or size. So, one more time. Do it from this angle here. So pummeling, block, hitting my duck under, head right away. Now, from behind, I'm cinching my hand and I'm putting my hips into him, right? And Daniel's, I think, 360 pounds. And I could easily pop him up and bring him down underneath. Okay? And then again, I'm in my favorite position here. Arm and guillotine attacks, or obviously this is to build on your own game. So give it a try. All right, guys, moving on to a different series now. We're gonna go back to my pummeling, but now we're gonna try to get double underhooks. Double underhooks is a very, very dominant position as long as you're smart with your positioning, okay? Before we even get into the takedowns from double underhooks, I'm just gonna show a couple ways that I like to get my double underhooks. Okay, we can go back to the 2-on-1 here, where I like to establish the 2-on-1, and then my hand that's on the wrist, I'm gonna come up to the underhook, and then the other one, I'm gonna just release and try to slide through or punch through to double underhooks. Okay, that's one way. I'm gonna just show you guys a couple ways you guys could work to get into the position, but half of the battle of getting a takedown, or probably even 75% of the battle of getting a takedown with double underhooks, is actually getting into that position. Once you're in that position and you're good there, you should be able to finish the takedown. So here, 2-on-1 that we already had. I'm releasing one hand, coming to the underhook, and I'm going to just either pull him a little bit if I need to, or I'm going to release his elbow and punch through. Okay? Notice what I like to do. My leg is between. I'm here. When I get my double underhooks, I'm going to elevate my elbows and I'm going to pull him onto me. So I'm backing up. I don't want to ever get double underhooks and start pushing on somebody, because exactly, he could, what we call a double over salto throw, or there's a lot of throws he can do from overhooks. So you want to elevate your elbows, pull him into you, and kind of move backwards. Okay? Kind of opposite of the old school like bear hug theory. Right? One more time. From here, I'm going to just start with my 2-on-1. One version here. I can release this elbow, because like now I'm pushing a little bit onto his elbow. He doesn't like that, right? So I release it and I'm going to punch this through. I like fingertip grips. I feel like I have a lot more control for the things that we're going to go into. But if you're more comfortable with gable grip, you can do that. I just like the fingertip grips. I feel like I can elevate my elbows more, and that I have more room to adjust as needed. Pulling him up, elbows up, pulling him to me, and I'm walking backwards. Okay? And we'll start from there. The next way that I like to get underhooks is a little bit more physical way, where I'm going to just come in and I'm going to one hand on the head, and now when I put a hand on the head, I'm not pushing on him, because somebody that's good could turn and throw, right? So I'm going to put one hand on the head and I'm pulling the head, the other hand's going to punch through here, and I basically will establish either a pinch headlock, or now that I have this elevated, I'm going to try to punch the other arm through for double underhooks. Fingertip grip, elbows up, and pulling backwards. One more time. I come in and I'm just going to establish contact, but it's going to be here. Elbows in here. I'm pulling with this and I'm going to punch my hand through. Establish a grip here for a pinch headlock, or come through, get my double underhook. Okay? They're not going to want to let you get your double underhook. Sometimes you have one underhook, you can grab a wrist, you can throw it up, smack it in. You have to be aggressive, and it's hard to get, but you have to be aggressive and find a way. Those are just a couple of ways to get into that position, and go ahead and give that a shot, guys. Thank you. Alright guys, so now that we have a couple ways of getting into our underhooks, we're going to start working on the finishes from there. Again, underhooks are hard, and it's a battle, and a lot of times you're really digging to get those underhooks. If I am going to dig to get my underhooks, the only thing that I want to make sure is that I'm always cautious of that I'm not digging and he's blocking here and I'm pushing too hard, because exactly, I don't want to push, and that's when you get thrown. So once I get into my underhook position, however you like it, you know, and I'll probably show just as I'm doing it just a couple different ways, but here's another way. Double wrist control to underhooks. I like this one a lot too. Double wrist control, one underhook, throw this one up to the second underhook. That's another good one. Now that I'm here, elbows up, this is going to be our first technique. I'm going to walk him back, and as I'm walking him back, notice how my leg initially starts in between, and then I'm kind of waiting for him because there's this thing, like, it's very important, like knee positioning. He's not gonna want my leg in between his legs. So as I'm pulling him back, he sneaks his leg out to try to get in a better position. I gotta be really careful that he doesn't throw me like that or gets his hips through. So right as he steps out, I'm gonna do what's called a shuck by. So I'm pulling him, he steps out, right away I'm gonna elevate my knee and my elbow at the same time and shuck him by, okay? Now we're in that position, my hands are already cinched. We go for my takedown that we just worked. Okay, one more time. We'll go double unders again. Boom, double underhook. I'm pulling. As soon as he gets his leg out, I'm gonna elevate the shuck by, and now I'm behind him. It works really good, especially kind of later on when somebody's sweaty. You can also do like a slide, right? So I get double underhooks, pulling him as soon as he comes out. Instead of like a big elevation and shucking here, I'm gonna change my levels a little bit. So gets his leg out, and now I'm gonna drop my level down here and slide down to his body. Okay, that's a very high percentage move. The thing I want to point out to watch out for real quick is once you're in the double underhooks, is that if I create space here, now he can get that headlock or that arm throw or whatever. So you have to be cautious of your pulling. Now, go ahead and, if I'm pulling on him and backing up slowly, he cannot throw me, right? As soon as he gets those legs out, shove him by right away, very explosive. Now I'm in the right position to finish my takedown. All right, guys, go ahead and give that one a shot. All right, so the next move we're gonna move on to with double underhooks is gonna be very similar to how we finished with our arm drag series, okay? A lot of this stuff, the fundamentals stay the same. It's just the positioning and the controlling the body that changes. So we're gonna get into our double underhooks, right? Double wrist, double underhooks, however you wanna get into them. Establish a style that works for you. I like this one, boom. Now look where my leg is. Very similar position from where our arm drag was, right? I'm here, I'm elevating, I'm pulling. Now what I want to do is I'm going to change my levels, because you have to change your levels, and I'm going to cinch my hips, my hands on his hips at the same time. So I'm changing my levels, and I'm cinching my hips here at the same time. Go back just so I can show this. So watch my arms and where my foot goes. I have double unders, right? My levels not changed yet. So when I change levels, I'm going to also cinch my hands to over here. Boom. Now hips to hips, and look at where we are, guys. Same position for that corkscrew finish. Okay. Double underhooks. This position is, you're in a dominant position now, but to finish this, it's going to be hard, right? So changing levels. My hands cinched here, put my hips in the right direction. Basically, we're facing the same way. I'm going to elevate that leg and step around to my corkscrew position. You guys, this is one that's very high percentage. If you get into that double hook position, you should be able to finish. It's going to be tough, but as long as you're controlled the whole time, you should finish this move. Go ahead, guys, and give it a try. All right, guys, the next technique that we're going to do from the double underhooks is using that change of direction, but now with double underhooks instead. So let's turn this way. So what I want to do is I'm going to get my double underhooks. Again, I keep doing this. This is probably my favorite way to get them. I know we talked about a few different ways, but I like to get the double wrist control to my underhooks. I'm pulling him. Now, when I pull him, elbows up, pulling him to my body, what his natural reaction is going to do if I'm pulling him is to pull back. So again, this is very, very, like, I have to drill this a lot so I can start feeling when he does that. And this is when I'm going to change my direction. So I'm pulling, he squats down, that's when I change my direction. Boom. That was the double leg one, or you can do it with the single leg one like we talked about earlier. Double underhooks. I'm pulling him. As soon as I feel I'm pulling back, this time I'm going to do it just single leg. But remember how important it is to come down and collapse all my weight onto his hips. Boom. Again, it's the same technique that we did from my 2-on-1 series. It's just now we're only in the double underhooks. This time we'll do it with the 2 legs. I pull back, he pulls down. Watch my second leg is going to come through. Spread the knees as I come down. Let's do that one more time, a little faster. It's a little hard to do that in slow motion. All right, guys, that's the change of direction from the from the double underhooks. Give it a try. All right, guys, one more finish here with the 2-on-1s is going to be, I'm going to get into that same dominant position where I would use my corkscrew, but this time I'm going to elevate, right? So 2-on-1s here. Now what I want to do is I want to change my levels like we did earlier, where I'm going to change here and corkscrew them down, except for now, instead of corkscrew them down, I'm going to elevate and I'm going to turn. So here, change direction. Instead of elevating him down, I'm going to step up and high leg up.
No, you're good.
So instead of corkscrewing him down, now I'm going to step in and elevate up. Okay? So watch this leg. Changing directions, and right away, elevating that leg up, taking him down to the mat. That one's hard to mimic in slow motion. One more time. Pulling. As I change, notice when I change my levels, I still have to get my cinch. If I don't get my cinch, I'm not going to be able to elevate. So I have to cinch and able to keep him to my chest. Lowering levels, cinching my hands. Now as I come up, he's attached to me. I'm taking that big step all the way to the mat. Let's do one more time, just a little faster. I'll face this direction. Changing directions and cinching at the same time, elevating that leg down to the mat. All right, guys, give that one a try. All right, guys, now we're going to move into the pinch headlock series. It comes from some of the same positioning that we're going to use, or that we've already used so far in the DVD. Another one of those high percentage positions where I'm not really sacrificing anything to get my takedowns. I'm not sacrificing or putting myself into danger, but he's going to be trying to defend my moves, so I'm the offensive, which takes away his offense. So we're going to go back to that 2-on-1. I like getting into this, just a single underhook from this 2-on-1 that we established earlier. Wrist control, coming here, closing the gap. Now what I want to do to get my 2-on-1 is, there's a couple things. I could just come underneath his elbow, which is pretty cool if you could keep that trapped in here. And then I'm going to switch my hands to the pinch headlock grip. If I can't get that, like he's just too strong here, I'm just going to come underneath to the 2-on-1. It doesn't really matter because it's going to get you in that same position. So 2-on-1, I'm going to pull this out. Notice my underhook side, my leg, I'm already stepping forward. You have to have that positioning. Up to the shoulder, and then up to connect. Okay. My grip on this pinch headlock is finger to finger. You can do a gable grip if you prefer. Again, I feel like there's more room to make some of the adjustments that we're going to show here with this grip. So I would use the finger grip, but if you're set on the gable grip, try it both ways. Position. Can't get this one. Coming through. Look at my leg. Look at my positioning. One thing I want to point out with this pinch headlock, my hand position, right? Everything's tight. This right elbow is into his chest. So I'm here. Okay, I'm keeping my hand here. I don't want to be here because that gives him underhooks. I want to establish his position and I'm going to start pulling on him. That's how you kind of start setting up the pinch headlock. First, takedown from the pinch headlock is going to be just basically the common pinch headlock series or throw. Coming in, locking my hands. Look at where my leg is. Same position where we finished our double underhooks and our arm drag earlier. I'm going to walk him back. Now, as I go to throw here, what I want to do is I want to make sure I cinch my hands as far as I can. And now I need to just make a little adjustment with my feet. So I'm going to step in with this leg and I'm going to start the motorcycle with my back leg. Pinch headlock here, I'm pulling it backwards, cinching as I get my hips through. What I mean by starting that motorcycle is like I'm taking a step in, I'm really kick-starting hard, like I'm kick-starting an old dirt bike or something, up, taking him down. Ideally, this could come in, and as you get into this position, you can hit it like a throw really fast and explosive, but a lot of times, you know, if you don't hit that initial throw right away, you're going to cinch and you're kind of stuck here. But if you take that step in, elevate that leg, they have nowhere to go. So you're just going to finish the pinch headlock. All right, guys, give that a try. Okay, so another way to finish this 2-on-1 to the pinch headlock, get my underhook, come into the pinch headlock, is I like to throw. You know, and ideally everything is, the fundamentals stay the same where my hips are in, my legs in. I like that kind of corkscrew, it takes a lot less energy. This one is actually a throw where instead of stepping all the way, or keeping my leg in between, I'm going to come all the way out. And it's almost the same mechanics as what we showed earlier with our arm throw, hip throw, and headlock throw. Except for now, I'm going to do everything the same. I'm going to cinch. Instead of coming in to kickstart my motorcycle, I'm going to just step all the way through here and finish the throw. Try to break this up just a little. Right there. So the only difference that I did here is instead of stepping this leg in to kind of kickstart that motorcycle, I just step my leg far enough through to get my hips all the way through. So here, stepping my hips through, boom. Again, I'm finishing with my knee down. I like to do that in jiu-jitsu because now I'm in a control position instead of trying to throw just from the feet. Just a different angle. Cinching hard, stepping through, getting my hip through, and knee. Okay, now I'm inside control. Can't really do that when it's slow motion, so hope you guys can see what I was doing there. Give it a try. Alright guys, another finish from the pinch headlock. There's now, in wrestling, how we talked about earlier, I'm putting these chains together, right? So now it's going to be based off of his reaction again. And I'm going to go to similar things that we did earlier, just a different way of setting them up. Okay, 2-on-1. This is how I like to get this single underhook here to my pinch headlock. The only difference now is I go to do my traditional finish, my corkscrew finish, and Daniel's going to stand straight up, and he's really strong. So now I can't, now I'm kind of stuck, right? This is why I like this finger grip. It gives me a little bit of room. So I pull him down, he stands back up. I'm going to open up my elbow and slide over his arm And now I'm cinched in my position for my corkscrew finish. So, 2-on-1, underhook, pinch headlock, elbows are tight, everything's tight. I go for my throat, see how I can't, he's standing up. Now I'm gonna open up this elbow, slide over. Really important detail here is I'm not straight in his back. I have that cinch still. Everything's gotta be cinched to finish correctly. Cinching, look at how low I am. I'm underneath his hips, my hips are underneath his, so I lift that back leg up and I can corkscrew him down to the mat. Right here. Underhook, pinch headlock. Can't get it. Opening up, sliding, cinching, and changing my levels. Nice, easy finish. You can also step all the way through and pop them all the way to the mat if you'd like. Let's give that one a try. Alright guys, next from the pinch headlock, what we're going to do is our duck under that we did from our pummeling position earlier. So I get this 2-on-1, same thing. Now, basically Daniel's just going to give me a little bit of space. And all I want to do is, he gets his arm free, right? Gives me a little bit of space, like by backing out his hips, okay? As soon as I feel this space, and I could step in, I could go for my throws. Another option that I like to do is I'm going to step back and immediately re-step to a duck under. Notice I keep my hands locked here because this is keeping my control. Go ahead and try to reach behind my neck. Guillotine, something like that. Like it's going to be really hard for him if I keep that control. If I do my duck under here and I lose that lock, that's when he can start doing things like that. I also got to remember that I'm going to change that corner or turn that angle right away so I don't get stuck there. Okay, so 2-on-1, boom, gets that hand up, gives me a little bit of space, just a little gap. So now all I want to do is step back with my left leg that's in between, and then I'm going to re-lunge, ducking, keeping everything tight, coming up to his body. So just another variation of that duck under. I like it because I'm not putting myself in any danger. Again, I'm not shooting in, I'm not getting stuck underneath them. Everything is control. If I don't get it, I don't put myself in a bad position or out of position in my match. So different angle here. 2-on-1. Gives me that little bit of space. I'll bury my head in his shoulder, right? By burying my head, now if I'm here, he has some opportunities to do some throws and stuff. If I step back, bury my head here, and I'm going to take just a lunge step forward and basically slide my head on his arm, come up to his body. One more time here. 2-on-1. Connecting my hands. I like to just take that step back, bury my head. Now look at where my foot goes and look how tight my head comes to his arm here. I'm not pausing here, and I'm just coming up to his body. And then we can work on that takedown or that finish from here that we did earlier. Finish the duck under. All right, give it a try. All right, we're gonna finish the pinch headlock with something that we've already done a couple times with our change of direction. I'm just gonna demonstrate it a couple times now, just utilizing that grip. Again, fundamentals stay the same. I'm waiting for him to move I believe that the change of direction, even though it looks like the simplest move, is probably the most complex move that you really have to start getting that feeling of when my opponent moves one way, pulling, pushing, I gotta do the opposite. So drilling this one's very important just to get that feeling down. Pinch headlock again. Now, same thing, I go for the throw. Daniel squats down. What I'm gonna do is, the first one I do is just with the single leg. Remember, I'm changing my direction of my toes. The only difference here is that instead of cinching on the body, I'm gonna stay up top. Okay, there's gonna be two ways that we finish this one. Okay, this one here, I'm gonna stay up top. So he sits back, I'm gonna stay up top. And I'm using this grip where I'm pulling my elbows in and pulling down on his head. And that's actually gonna kind of buckle his back. Show one more time from that direction. So as I go, notice everything's coming down on his body and I'm stepping through, pulling him down with me really hard with all my weight at the same time that he's squatting down to get away from me. It's gotta be, the timing has to be right. Here, I'm going for it because the first link in my chain, right? I'm going for what I want to get. I don't get it because he changes his directions. Everything's gonna come in tight and I'm changing to drop him down right on his butt. Let's do one more side. One more time, facing this way. Here, boom. All right, and then from this angle again, let's do the secondary finish. That one's got to be pretty explosive. This is the one where I'm going to bring both knees in. Again, a little bit more control that way, but you're going to end up in the closed guard of your opponent, which is fine. So that's it, guys. I hope you appreciate the DVDs. These are the moves that kept me undefeated in Greco against Jiu-Jitsu guys, and I hope they work for you too. Thank you.